Hey, good afternoon, guys. Welcome to our workshop this month where we're talking about app layering, specifically with Liquidware FlexApp. As you guys are joining, feel free to throw us a quick message in the chat. Love to hear where you guys are from. If you guys have any experience with Liquidware or any other app layering solutions, maybe if you're using Citrix app layering or app volumes or maybe MSIX or whatever it may be, feel free to throw that in the chat. We will be using that. I just want to kind of get you guys familiar with that. Because during this workshop, if you guys have any questions or comments, we definitely want to make this kind of interactive, so feel free to throw those in. Again, we're just going to give it a moment before we get started, but welcome, everyone. Give it another moment and we will get started. Like I said, feel free to throw us a quick message in chat. Love to hear where you guys are connecting from. Your experience today with app layering. If you guys are using it in some capacity, whether it be Citrix app layering, app volumes, MSIX, Liquidware FlexApp, how are you guys managing your images today? If you are using some sort of solution or not. Like I said, I want to make this interactive, so definitely feel free to use that chat function, and we'll be monitoring that throughout this this workshop. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Do want to mention real quick, XenTegra is giving away a Ford Bronco again. So if you guys are joining us this event for the first time, or one of our events for the first time, we recently gave away a Ford Bronco to one of our customers. We're going to be doing that again. So make sure you go to www.workhasnoboundaries.com to enter, and you could be the lucky winner of a new Ford Bronco. So real quick, our agenda today, we're going to quickly discuss who we are at XenTegra. I'll let Liquidware give a quick brief overview of their solution. Then we're going to start talking about app layering, right? Specifically with FlexApp. We'll jump into a demo, talk about some future roadmap items as it relates to Liquidware FlexApp. Ask any questions, and I put questions at the end, but again, do want to make this interactive. If you have any questions or comments, throw those in. You can either use the Q&A or you can use the chat. I will be monitoring those as we go along, and we'll kind of keep the lines of communication there open throughout this. Louis, I just saw your message that you're unable to chat. That's fine. Just if you want to use the QA function, you guys can definitely do that. And like I said, we'll monitor that throughout this presentation. So very quickly, do want to introduce myself. My name is Randy Price. I'm a solutions architect. I should really update this slide. Live in Monroe, right outside Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been working in this industry for 20 plus years, mainly on the Citrix, VMware, Microsoft solutions. If you guys have ever taken advantage of one of our micro assessments, there's a good chance I was involved with that, specifically on the Citrix or VMware side. If you're not familiar with those, talk about that in a moment. Give you guys a little update on what that includes. Definitely take advantage of that as well. I'm also have the pleasure of being joined today by Johnny and Tom from Liquidware. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Johnny, Tom, you guys want to introduce yourself?
Johnny, I'm an SC with Liquidware. I cover multiple territories. I serve as SME for all of our products, help our customers do things with our technologies to solve their issues.
Johnny, Tom?
Yep, I'm Tom Wynn. I'm also an SC. I cover the South and Southeast regions of the contiguous 50 states. Got about 20 years before coming to Liquidware, just consulting and designing end user computing spaces.
Appreciate that, guys. So real quick, we're going to talk about who we are, who XenTegra is. For those that are not familiar, this is Andy Whiteside. He's our founder and CEO. Prior to starting XenTegra, Andy was a Citrix sales engineer for about, I believe, 7 years. While he was in this role, he came to realize that at that time, the Citrix channel partners only really cared about getting brought into customer deals, customers and closing deals, right? But what you really saw was customers really needed enablement around the products and solutions they were purchasing. And at that time, vendors just weren't able to provide this, right? And this really frustrated Andy, and that's why he went and started XenTegra. So in 2012, he founded XenTegra with the goal to enable customers to build and enhance the end user community and form true partnerships with the various ecosystem vendors, right? And that's what we should continue to strive to do today, right? Continue to add value and enable our customers through things like education, training, and different events. Today, we are a virtual end user computing reseller. We invest heavily in our partnerships and customers and the community by providing carefully selected products and solutions, coupling that with expert services, along with practical training and advice as well. So our goal is really to bring the right products together to enable a user-centric workspace. We work to try to sell, design, and integrate these solutions to try to get technology out of the way to help enhance productivity and for you to meet your digital transformation initiatives. Our roots are within Citrix, of course, with Andy coming from Citrix. But our goal is to make your end user compute space solution successful. So we pull in other key focus partners to enhance and expand your user workspace experience, whether it be Agile, Microsoft, Nutanix, ServiceNow, VMware. These are really our focus partners. And that's where Liquidware comes in. Liquidware is one of our strategic partners. These solutions that really take any end user computing deployment and make it go from good to great, right? XenTegra handpicks these partners and embeds them where needed to really help our customers achieve success. So why XenTegra? We realize that today you have many options when it comes to partners in the end user space. However, no partner will add as much value as XenTegra does. We ask you to truly evaluate your current partner and ask yourselves, what value do they truly bring? How does this partner ensure my future success? Or does this partner only really care about, a transaction, right? Transactional sales. And so that's where XenTegra is a little different because we're committed, right? We invest heavily into our customers and prospects through things like education and our events. We're very capable, we employ the best of the best. We pride ourselves on getting industry experts and employees, who are passionate about this space and your success. We are also a top national Citrix Microsoft partner. We're growing. We're being smart and strategic. There's no client that's too big or too small. We treat all our customers the same. And this really brings up the value added, right? Again, webinars, hands-on workshops. We'll talk about that later, some of the events that we have coming up. We have vendor-focused podcasts. So if you guys haven't checked that out, definitely go check out our podcast. Whatever your favorite podcast solution is, definitely go look up XenTegra. You can find quite a few out there, whether that be Citrix, VMware, Microsoft, AWS, Nutanix. We've got podcasts with a lot of our major vendors. Discounts on conference passes, right? That's something else where we try to add value. And then again, the complimentary assessment. So, I mentioned the fact that we have the Citrix, VMware, micro assessments. We have networking, Agile. There's several different assessments that you can take advantage of. Typically, these are up to a 4-hour engagement at no cost, where we'll come in and essentially do a health overview, right, within that 4 hours to, just determine your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats as it relates to vendor recommended practices. So, and at the end of it, you will get a deliverable. So definitely helps, if anything, just to get another set of eyes on your current deployment, make some recommendations, how you can enhance that user experience or even the admin experience. Definitely take advantage of that. If you're interested, definitely reach out to your XenTegra client executive. If you're not sure who that may be, you can always reply back to this email. We'll reach out to you as well if it's something you guys are interested in. So with that, I'm going to quickly turn it over to Johnny to give us a quick overview of Liquidware and their solution.
Thank you, Randy. Yeah, we at Liquidware, we focus in on digital workspace management. Our digital workspace management spans across the physical world, the virtual world, the cloud/hyperscaler world as well. So any of the solutions we provide fit across anything that's running in any of those places where those workloads exist. Our digital workspace management is comprised of our 3 current products. First one is called Profile Unity. Profile Unity is a full-featured user environment management platform. There are 2 pieces to Profile Unity that exist. There's the policy side of the world. This is where we, map drives, map printers, inject registry keys. And the benefit here is that we can wrap context around it. So if I needed to build a filter that says, if you're coming in from this IP address or your machine starts with this name, I can make specific actions appear for you based on that notion, right? And then if you were to break any of those filters, I can completely change the behavior and look and feel of your digital workspace without forcing you to log off and log back in. The other side of Profile Unity is profile management. Our profile management, we have 2 technologies that provide that. We have portability. The benefits of portability is that profile migrations no longer become a thing. Portability allows us to coexist profiles across multiple operating systems. And at the end of the day, we're roaming in what the user truly cares about. This is their Outlook settings, their Google Chrome settings, their Microsoft Word settings. They don't necessarily care about those things that we do in IT, like manage active setup and all those fun stuff, because to the user, they have no idea what those are. So we're just migrating in what they truly care about. The other portion of profile management that we have is Profile Disk. Profile Disk is our profile container technology. Basically, we're encapsulating the entire profile into a VHDX, and it basically just becomes a click the button, here's my profile management type of solution. Our second product is our application layering solution. It's called FlexApp. FlexApp is, as with a lot of application layering solutions, the goal of it is to separate the application from the operating system so we manage less operating systems. Where we stand out comparatively to someone like a Citrix app layering is most folks say Citrix app layering is slow. The enterprise layering manager appliance owns all of everything, right? So you have to wait for an operating system to be spit out in order for you to actually install pieces of software on there. And then they have to be reabsorbed back in. And then, that's where you get the versioning and all that fun stuff that pop up there. With FlexApp, everything that we do, we capture as VHDXs. So the VHDX you capture in on-prem today can be simply transferred over to the cloud, and you play back that package in the cloud when you move that workload over there. There have been some advancements that have popped up in FlexApp. Most recently, we have a packaging automation that allows a robot or a drone to package for you. And we also enhanced the functionality, and we came up with FlexApp 1 to help cover an offline use case. Our third product is our monitoring and diagnostic solution called Stratosphere UX. Stratosphere UX is an appliance that you deploy in your data center or in your public cloud. And then from there, the agent goes out onto endpoint machines, virtual desktops, cloud machines, whatever they may be. And we're there to collect user experience metrics. So if they have slow logins or if they have excessive resource consumption, we do time-based analysis against that data. All right, Randy, thank you.
Yep. Thank you for that. Yep. And so today, we are going to focus mainly on the application layering side. Really talk about app layering in general, right? Why are we utilizing app layering? Why would a customer want to look at app layering? So real quick, I kind of mentioned this at the beginning. Some of you may be having issues using the chat functionality, but if you guys want to throw that in the Q&A, I'd love to understand, what you guys are utilizing today for image management, right? So are you managing these as standalone machines? Are you guys utilizing something like Liquidware FlexApp, Citrix app layering, app volumes? Are you exploring MSIX? Just get an understanding of the landscape today as it relates to how you guys are handling image management, right? Because I'm assuming the fact that you guys are here, maybe you guys are having some sort of issues, right? Just keeping up to date these images, right? And that's really sort of the problem. And we'll talk about that here. What is the actual problem with application delivery? So, today when we talk about application delivery, what sort of challenges or issues are we trying to resolve or solve at this point, right? And I believe the most common issues are the fact that we find that installing apps per PC or image is not really efficient, right? And can be very time consuming. We typically will have multiple images we're having to maintain. A lot of these based upon individual departmental apps. These images can also be based upon the various underlying OS, right? So we may be running multiple OS versions to support these underlying applications. With this really truly multiplies the issue, especially if we have, hundreds of apps that we're having to maintain. It really becomes a never-ending life cycle management, both for not only virtual desktops, but also physical desktops, right? Where we're trying to maintain the applications, any updates, any versioning through this deployment. And so, we talk about the solution. So what is the solution, right? And the solution is really simple. It's separating the apps from the base image. So just think about it, managing apps from the separated from the base image is actually more efficient. So now, our base OS image management becomes easier. We really don't care about the underlying OS, whether they're running on Windows 10, 2019, 2016, whatever the OS is. It also helps reduce the number of images required because the apps are being managed separately, right? Reducing the need for siloed applications or delivery catalogs in the Citrix world, right? Or managed machine catalogs. These base images typically will remain clean and pristine. Also allows for the portability of applications across various operating systems as long as that application is supported. And so when we talk about this, who can really benefit from this approach the most? Really everyone, right? Especially customers with dozens or even hundreds of applications. When you talk about Citrix app layering, for those of you that are utilizing the solution, we would typically recommend if you have less than 5 images, really doesn't make sense to look at Citrix app layering just from an administrative standpoint. That's not the case with Liquidware FlexApp. Really, you want to be around 7 images or so before you even consider Citrix app layering. And Johnny's already talked about some of the challenges as far as utilizing the ELM, time it takes to package the applications. And so we'll kind of walk through that process here in a moment and show you from a demo perspective how simplified Liquidware FlexApp is in this regard and how quick, right? So so again, talked about the problem. The solution is to really separate the apps. We talk about various solutions that can help solve these challenges. There's several players in this space, but really none that can provide the flexibility, the ease of deployment and administration as Liquidware FlexApp. And that's why it's really considered a leader in this space. If you look, Liquidware has won numerous awards, and FlexApp was also the first app layering solution on Amazon Marketplace or Microsoft Azure. So let's just talk about some of the feature sets, right? And what FlexApp can provide. It is an advanced feature within the Profile Unity UEM platform. It's a fully integrated solution that can leverage profile settings and policies utilized within Profile Unity, but it can also be implemented independent of Profile Unity's feature set, right? So if you already have a profile management, user persona management solution in place, great. We can still utilize FlexApp and couple that in. FlexApp, again, enables administrators to assign departmental level applications to groups of users. Its application layering solution is really compatible with all the major desktop virtualization platforms. We already talked about Citrix, VMware, Microsoft AVD. And again, one of the game changers as it compares to something like a Citrix app layering or app volume, it even applies to physical desktops or physical PCs. It supports virtually all application types and really provides many different options for, from a layering perspective, whether we want to layer at system boot, layer at login, whether we want to support click to layer, which essentially displays an icon to be displayed on the desktop. And we'll talk about that here in a moment, how that works as far as, the application is not actually layered into the OS until the user launches the app. Even allows for multi-cloud staging, right? Utilizing whatever cloud provider of our choice. Johnny kind of already mentioned being able to layer an application. We can replicate that to Azure, AWS, and still be able to use that application in those environments. So if you're a customer and you're looking to migrate to the cloud, it makes that migration much simpler, especially if we combine that with the power of Profile Unity as well. So we mentioned some of the benefits. Kind of already spoke to some of these, right? Fast packaging. So again, those of you that are familiar with something like Citrus app layering, you know the time it takes to layer an application. Sometimes it can be very daunting. Liquidware FlexApp, it literally takes the same amount of time to layer it as it does to install the application. We talked about the fact that they have this package once feature set where, you know, we can take that application once we've layered it or packaged it, that we can deploy it to any Windows OS version that supports that application. FlexApp also comes with several pre-packaged cloud-based applications that you can utilize out of the box. You can clone them, make them your own. You can even create your own cloud-based repository. They support native cloud storage, session isolation. So, you know, in the sense of your traditional Citrix virtual apps, right? Server or XenApp or RDS or Microsoft Azure virtual desktop server. I can now have multiple users log in and each user get a different set of applications, their own unique application sets. It also comes with micro isolation as a feature, really helping to provide any sort of interactions and zero file conflict between, you know, multiple applications that have been layered. Also comes with application and user rights management at no added cost with the Profile Unity. Also things like context-aware triggers, right? So we can provide or layer these based upon specific users, groups, even endpoints, right? Certain operating system. You'll see some of that here today as we go through some of these triggers. All this is delivered from a centralized management console. There's no database requirements. We can utilize existing infrastructure. We'll talk about that a little later. But from an implementation standpoint, very, very simplified versus something like a Citrus app layering. You know, we look at the FlexApp layered approach. It's really taking any Windows level, individually packaging apps, you know, stored on any storage. And again, this could be cloud-based storage. Defining what users or groups of users we want to assign those to, and when the user logs into their desktop pool, and again, that could be a hosted shared, you know, server OS, or it can be a traditional desktop OS, something like Windows 10, Windows 11, and the users get a unique experience, right? They get the applications that they need. So we're not really caring about the underlying OS at this point, really decoupling that, the applications from the OS. A couple of other features just quickly point out. Johnny mentioned this, that now they also have baked in automation. So if you've got dozens or hundreds of apps that you're having to package, you know, this is that integration with DevOps, right? Where we can come in and essentially perform bulk packaging of, you know, these EXEs, MSIXs, whatever it may be. Imagine, you know, Friday afternoon, getting ready to leave for work, you kick off a job to go in and automatically package your applications. Come in Monday morning, and then you start distributing these out. You know, that's some of the power of FlexApp versus some of the other application layering technologies out there today. Another feature that has been released or introduced that again is pretty innovative is the ability to utilize what they call FlexApp One, and that's one file per app. So it's self-contained. There's no external player needed. Just like I said earlier, it helps keep the base image clean. You can really distribute these apps by a variety of different methods, right? Whether that's I put it on a USB drive, I use something like Microsoft Intune. I still use Intune as the name, but you know, OneDrive, Google Drive, whatever it may be, right? I can basically publish or push out these applications, give it to a user. They're able to run the application, and it layers that application in, and even supports offline, right? So in that sense, maybe I've got contractors and they need access to an application. I can give them a FlexApp 1 package and even put an expiration on it, right? So after a certain period of timeline, maybe I have a contractor working for 6 months, I give them an application, put an expiration for 6 months. After 6 months, the application no longer works, right? That's the power of FlexApp 1. So when we talk about that, we talk about when to use FlexApp versus FlexApp 1. Kind of already went over this, but essentially it's, again, whether the laptop or the device, right? Is it well managed? Do you plan to go offline? That's where you would want to utilize a FlexApp 1. Do you want to be able to share the application, without any prerequisites on that endpoint? Again, that's FlexApp 1. If we want to utilize Profile Unity, or we want to track inventory, we want to typically utilize the traditional FlexApp architecture or package applications in those sort of scenarios. So, we looking at the benefits we're looking at FlexApp 1, FlexApp, we can see there's several potential use cases and benefits, right? For application delivery, whether it be simplify app management, supporting non-persistent desktops, whether we're trying to simplify base image management, business continuity, again, reducing the number of images, right? And that seems to be a common struggle for a lot of administrators, especially on the Citrix VMware side. But also, we put all that time and effort into managing those applications, being able now to replicate that to even our physical desktops, right? That becomes a big game changer. And that's what FlexApp can provide. So Liquidware does have a community site. Definitely recommend going and check this out. Now, if you guys are, and I keep using Citrix App Layering because that seems to be a common one that customers have experience with. In the past, you go out and Citrix would maintain a set of application recipes, right? How do I layer this so it works correctly? Liquidware also had, or still has, a site up, the community site. But if you go out there and look, it's really reduced. There's not a lot out there in the recipe, and that's because they have worked very hard on ensuring operability between applications and really reduce the number of issues between applications, right? Again, talking about the ability to have compatibility and being able to layer almost all applications. That's a very big differentiator. They also include some things on there. We talked about the fact, or Johnny talked about the fact they have their own profile disk technology. They do have a free VHDX compacting tool that works with their technology as well as FS Logics, right? So, if you are using FS Logics, you can use Profile Unity with it. You can even use their VHDX tool to compact those FS Logics profile disk as well. So let's talk about Profile Unity for a moment, right? And the FlexApp architecture. And that's because they really use the same architecture. It's the same underneath the covers, right? So for those on-prem deployments, it does run as a standalone system. You can utilize your existing infrastructure for deployment. So again, no proprietary databases are required, right? And that's for profiles or data, right? So that's different from your typical Avanti AppSense sort of solutions out there. There is a lightweight client that installs to endpoints. We can deploy that by a variety of methods, whatever your software distribution method may be. You can even deploy it using group policy. Doesn't require any sort of downtime, anything of that nature. The agent, the configuration files are hosted typically on, or can be hosted on your NetLog on share, or it can be used on any other enterprise share. The reason why, we recommend looking at the NetLog on share is because it is there, it's highly available, it's replicated, right? So, but again, if you guys want to use any sort of enterprise file share, that is definitely an option as well. I do want to talk about Profile Unity for a moment because Johnny mentioned it earlier. If you are not using any sort of user environment management or persona management solution today, Profile Unity is also leading that market as well. So it can utilize your existing cloud storage provider and have your profiles delivered from whatever cloud service you guys are utilizing, right? Whether that be Amazon, Google Cloud, or Microsoft Azure. You're going to utilize it to save your user profiles and policies. And their support of cloud storage is seamless. It's fully integrated. They have API level integration, allows you to transition your user profiles securely at logoff, right? and help copy those up to the cloud so they're there in the background, right? So that management, we talked about, migrating. So if you later have an initiative to migrate your virtual desktops to the cloud, right? Having that user data there so the users get the same user experience really regardless of where their desktops are delivered from. This even works great from a DR perspective. So things even like user created data, such as my documents, pictures, can be set to automatically transfer in the background. And again, using any sort of cloud-based storage. So just, again, talking about Profile Unity, again, delivering a feature-rich user persona management system for both virtual desktops and physical PCs, just like the FlexApp solution works on both virtual and physical. And just like Liquidware FlexApp decouples the applications from the OS, Profile Unity decouples user profiles, settings, and data from the operating system, right? Helping to end that user migration cycle when we start migrating to new Windows desktops. So think about migrating from Windows 10 to Windows 11, for example. Or maybe I'm on Citrix today and I'm looking to migrate to Azure Virtual Desktop or VMware or vice versa, right? Maybe I'm utilizing VMware and I want to migrate to Citrix. Profile Unity, by decoupling these user profiles and the user data, helps with that transition, those migrations. Again, it utilizes a lightweight agent. There's no complex software packages you can install. Dynamically stores and applies these user profiles, the data, coupled with FlexApp, also your applications to your Windows operating system at logon, right, with just in a few seconds. Allowing you to be even more flexible than ever with your desktops and how you guys are provisioning those. Kind of already mentioned this, but they're extremely portable across various operating systems. And again, if you guys are using FSLogix and you're a fan of it, you can even utilize it to help populate that user's profile within FSLogix as well. So this is my last slide, and then we're going to jump into the demo, but I just want to, again, talk about the key advantages, right? Centralized dynamic user profiles across all Windows versions, right? The other nice feature of Profile Unity is retains these profiles in the native Windows formats, right? Which means they're backward and forward compatible. So talked about the fact we have portability as well as being able to be forward and backwards compatible across multiple operating systems. Also includes application rights management at no added cost. And so this allows you to elevate privileges for select users to run or install applications, or maybe you want to restrict users from running certain applications in the base image, right? You can do that with Profile Unity. It's coupled in at no additional charge. We talked about the fact that it also provides context-aware filters, so you can get very granular, right? So we can apply a configuration based upon hundreds of different criteria with a single filter, or we can stack these filters on top, right? So for example, if I'm in a hospital and I want to be able to print only certain printers that are close to me, you can do that, right? If I only want a user to be able to layer in an application on, certain day time frame coming from this app, endpoint, we can do that. So there's a lot of different feature functionality that you can do when we talk about context-aware features. Again, works across mixed OSs. Helps enable seamless migrations. And the biggest thing, again, works with physical, virtual, cloud-based workspaces as well. And again, if you guys have any questions, definitely keep throwing those in the Q&A. We'll check those out. I do want to turn this over. I'm gonna stop sharing, and Johnny, I'll turn it over to you and let you give us a quick demo.
Yep, thank you. You can see my screen, correct?
Yes.
All right, so we're going to walk through a brief demo of Profile Unity and FlexApp, and we're just going to get a good understanding of how fast we can package applications and talk about some of the automation functions as well as FlexApp 1. So my lab here simulates on-prem. So I have a Profile Unity server. Profile Unity, the console does need to be installed on a server-grade operating system, server 16, server 19, server 2022, whatever you deem fit there, that's fine. It's a web-based console and a couple of services. The main goal and function of the web-based console is to allow administrator/engineer to make configs. Making configs is making actions happen regardless if it's like I'm assigning a policy, assigning an application, mapping a drive, mapping a printer. And our client picks up those configs either at logon or at system boot and makes those actions happen. Second function of the Profile Unity server is licensing. Basically, when the client logs in, the client checks back with the console here and says, please check out license. So if we take a look here, I have a multitude of configurations in this lab here, right? You can build as many configurations as you want, as long as they make sense, right? You just don't want to build configs for having configs and then have other folks get very confused about what's popping up in the world. The main reasons of building multiple configurations is you want certain actions to happen at certain periods of time. So I have an action here that allows me to do a machine boot system FlexApp. So basically on my client boot, I pick up a handful of applications. And then I have another configuration here that allows me to process user-based FlexApps. So basically on user logon, check for any of the filters and then process those FlexApp applications on a user-mounted basis. I can do other intricate things like share migrations, on-prem to cloud migrations, whatever it may be. I am running a project right now with the customer where they are literally doing that, moving off of old storage onto new storage automatically with Profile Unity. So basically on login, they will copy the profile in from the old storage, and then on log off, they'll actually write the profile to the new storage. And then all they really need to do when they're fully migrated is cut away that original restore point. And then they're just 100% on that new storage and they're good to go. No more robocopy script. Did I gather everything? Do I need to execute the script every hour on the hour type of thing like that? So if we open up our configuration here, and this is what Profile Unity is, right? FlexApp is a module inside of Profile Unity. It's basically this module right here where I can do application assignments and wrap whatever sort of filter on here. From a user basis, I can put in user comes in from this IP address, or their machine starts with this name from this endpoint, or they belong to this group, whatever it may be. If I'm doing a system-based one, I can do machine's name starts with, I can do machine belongs to this group, or machine contains this IP address, and provide those types of filters like that, because there is no user context at the machine boot layer section yet, because the user hasn't even tried to log in at that point in time. But any of these modules in here, you can use as you deem fit. There's nothing that says you need to check every single one of these. We do give you a good starting point by building a guided configuration in here. We have a lot of templates based on a multitude of use cases. And when you roll through the guided config here, it'll set you up with portability, which we talked about is that cross operating system coexistence of profile, allows me to migrate in the relevant user settings that they actually truly care about. And then it'll set you up with folder redirection, move my author data out of my profile so I'm not bogged down if someone downloaded like a 4 gig ISO into the download directory, and I don't have to copy those things in and out, and it kind of bogs down my login time, right? Pick and select the template here. And then literally this guided config, it's 10 clicks through. It gives you a very good starting point on building the rest of your config. Then all you really need to do is add some drive mappings, add some printer mappings, figure out if you need to inject some registry keys for your applications to function all the way. And you subsequently have a very good starting point and a very good config that is very tailored to your environment for your use case. So as we talked about, the advanced functions of privilege elevation and application restrictions are here. There's nothing that grays them out and says you need to buy an upper tier license in order to have those advanced features unlocked. We sell one flavor of Profile Unity. We sell one flavor of FlexApp. You get everything when you buy those licenses. There's no, standard tier and premium tier and all those types of things that happen in the world. So once you're done and you're good and you made a config change, all you really need to do is deploy this configuration. This configuration gets deployed somewhere on the network or somewhere in a cloud bucket. And then as long as our group policy, and yes, we do still use a group policy, and the main goal of the group policy is to instruct the client where my INI file lives so that I can read it on login or on system boot. That's basically the guts of Profile Unity. let's talk about FlexApp. FlexApp, we talked about, it's just a module inside of Profile Unity. I still need to build a configuration in Profile Unity, even if I was just 100% not using the portability aspect or the policy side of the world, and I'm just delivering FlexApps. But let's talk about how fast we can actually layer an application. So this is what we call a FlexApp packaging console. This is where we do authoring. So when I log onto this machine is running on server 2022. All I really need to do here is I'm going to transfer a piece of software over to it that we're going to capture live on this webinar right now. So let me give that a good copy over. And then all I really need to do is load up this console and click create. When I click create, I need to fill in a name. This is an administrative name. It is not a name the user would see. So I can literally put all kinds of random characters in here, and I'm the only one that ever see it. All kinds of spaces, all kinds of symbols, whatever you need in here, it's all good. Right. If you look down here, I'm dumping this VHDX onto the D drive of this machine. I will have to transfer it over to my share so it can be read by my users when they log in and process the config, right? And then in terms of size, I set this to 20, and 20 is the default. I can set this to this number as long as this setting is set. Expandable would dictate that I'm thin provisioning. So, if I set everything at 20 gig and if I have a specific reason and I'm packaging a very large package and set it to, 30, 40, 50 gig, as long as I set everything as expandable, it's inconsequential to the consumption because everything is thin provision. This is very, very critical to understand when we transfer these packages to the cloud. Cloud storage charges per gig. If I thick provision everything at 100 gig, someone gets a very large bill in the mail and they're not very happy. So in this case, I'm just going to set it to 20, even though I'm packaging something like VLC player, which is very small, thin provision, it's all good. So I'm going to click the create button, and this will actually create me an empty VHD on that D drive location on this machine. Once that VHD gets created, we can actually take a peek at it. It'll create it within a folder with the timestamp and also the administrative label we dictated. I'm ready to record. So at the point in time I click this start button, I am recording this D drive. So if you have things happen in the background, let's just say you click start, then you transfer this piece of software over to it. I recorded that file copy operation. Or if in the background you're running things like Windows updates, we will most definitely capture those. Or your antivirus updates with new pattern files, we most definitely will capture those. So at the point when you're recording, you want to make sure everything is very, very, very quiet. So I'm going to click start here. It is entering that record phase. And basically, packaging is as easy as running through the normal application installation. So pick and choose whatever you'd like to pick here and just proceed through this install the way that you would normally proceed through the install. Something like VLC player in a traditional sense would probably be a best fit for a packaging automation. Because if I went into those context menus before during the install and I set it to a strange language and I uncheck various boxes, everybody gets that strange language and everybody doesn't have those extra features that the application was told not to include. So if you send it through with automation, you put those switches in there, it dictates those sections and it's 100% every single time consistent. So once it's done installing, I can elect to run the package, which I will right now. And once I'm satisfied with what the package looks like in terms of being run, I can feel free to close this package. So I'm going to quit this package here. So then I'm done here. All I need to do is click finish. And when I click finish, it'll actually uninstall the product from here. It'll make sure my VHDs are unmountable and remountable, and it'll deactivate the package from the system so that it can be safely transferred out. So I'm here, I hit the finish button. I can choose to extend if I needed to add and install another piece. If I click on the configuration, I'll be in the package editor. If I accidentally left a shortcut or any various config files that I don't need in there that I'm going to deliver through other means, I can click on configure and I can actually trim those files out, and then I can create all kinds of fun things in Profile Unity to give me those files that I need to make the application function. But in the sense here, I'm happy with what the package looks like, so I'll hit save. So now that when I save, I end up with 3 files. I end up with that VHDX that actually contains the bits and the pieces. I end up with a metadata file. That's for our consoles to read and be able to understand and import these packages to be able to deploy. And then we end up with an administrative icon. This is by far not the icon the actual user would see. So any icons that are generated by the application, if it generates a help file or any of the uninstall files or any of the bits and pieces that land in the start menu or on the desktop, those icons would still show up exactly the same as you normally would. So at this point in time, I copy this package onto my network share so that it can be consumed by users. So I have various other FlexApp packages out here. So this will just kind of join the fold. So after I transfer it out, I do need to import it into my inventory. So I just come down to inventory management, drop in that same path here. Let me trim out some stuff here so I don't have to type, and then we'll be good.
Hey, Johnny, quick question. I had a question come in. As far as your packaging console there, if I have a Windows 10 in 2019, does it matter? And the application works on both. Does it matter which OS I'm using to create the package?
Traditionally, the best guidance is to pick the lowest operating system. So if you're Windows 10, and you have to kind of dictates what version of Windows 10 you're running and where you would want to package, because Server 2019 is at technically 1809's kernel, right? So if you're running something newer Windows 10 that's beyond 1809, you would package on the server operating system, and vice versa if you're you're running something kind of older like 1607 or something like that. Also, at the same time, there are certain packages and certain installers that don't expose themselves the same way based on operating system that it got packaged on, just based on the version of the kernel and all that fun stuff. The main one that comes to mind is Office 365's client. If you package on anything older than what I believe is like 2021 version of Windows 10, you'll miss out on certain functions and features that you would expect out of the Office 365 client. So in that case, even though I'm delivering to an older operating system like a server, I would package Office 365's client on a modern Windows 10. So I make sure I get everything that is exposed there, that I could play it back on the old operating system. So here on this import, I'm going to double click that XML file. That's why the XML file is kind of critical to us. And we know it's the VLC player AAAA because I put some random characters in there as markers. And then once I'm imported, it becomes part of my inventory of applications. And then now it becomes assignable to my user. So in this case, all I need to do is open up my user-based FlexApp, open up the FlexApp DIA module, and then add the rule to it. And adding the rule to it is as easy as dragging it from the right-hand side to the left-hand side. Here's also where I would dictate any sort of filter I stood up in my world. And then for demo purposes, I will check the box for click to layer. As we talked about and in the various slides that we showed, click to layer, we still create the same icons the application would create. So if there's an icon on the desktop and in the start menu, they would be in both places. And then what happens is if the user invokes and clicks and launches those applications, it does on the fly, just in time delivery. So you'll get a dialog box that says, please wait while we mount, and then the application will pop up for you. Just for demo purposes, we want to take a peek at that because there are varying ways that we deliver FlexApp packages to the operating system. I'm hit save here. And then I'm going to update in the top right-hand corner to commit everything to my config. And then now I need to deploy my config so that when my user logs in, it understands that I added a VLC player to the application set that's supposed to end up there. So then over here, I have a Windows 10 20H2 machine. And then from this Windows 10 20H2 machine, it booted when we're on doing the slides. So I would have picked up the system-based FlexApps already. And then now on my user context of login, I will pick up additional FlexApps. So let's authenticate. You'll see our splash screen. This is our config name. And then this is the module that is being processed in the config right here. We have multitude of logging that happens that shows how long the splash screen was up and any hangs and any of the distinct things if you need to troubleshoot why my environment is logging in slow or whatnot's in our world, right? So here, this application is a system. This applications are users. This application is click to layer. And we can actually demonstrate that and take a peek at how those things are lining up right now, right? If I open up disk management, these are the applications that are mounted to my system already. You'll notice that VLC player is not here. You also see that things like putty and whatnots in the world don't generate desktop icons. They're in the start menu. So they are launchable for me in that case here. Let's just roll putty for fun. And then we can run Evernote, and we can run Adobe Reader, and we can run all those types of guys. And every single one of these is a FlexApp based application, right? Make all these dialog boxes go away. And let's pull up that VLC player. So I'm that user, and this may not necessarily be a good use case for VLC player, but let's just talk about accounting or quarter end type of folks. They may have an application that they're rare used, but I still want to give them access to it in case they need to look something up and someone asks them a question. That's would be the good use case for like a click to layer type of conversation. So when I click this one and launch this application, in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see that please wait dialog. Then you'll see the application pop up as it has been there, right? So you'll see also at the same time in disk management, we have an extra VHDX that got mounted to the operating system, and that's it, right? That's FlexApp. So if I came in here and, just to prove that we are 100% clean, and we don't do anything in our world, if I come out here and stop my service, most definitely you will see all the applications crash, all the icons disappear, and we are reverted to 100% clean state operating system. So that's FlexApp at its core. So let's talk about packaging automation. So packaging automation is the concept of when we ran an analysis on applications installed in the world, you're talking 70 to 75% of the applications in the world are common applications. These are my Google Chromes, these are my Adobe Readers, these are my putties, my WinSCPs, all those various bits and pieces. Yes, they are critical, but they're never quote unquote line of business, right? They are not my EMRs, they are not my ERP systems, they are not my CAD software where I'm drawing airplanes or buildings or all those types of things like that. These applications are not sexy, but these applications are critical for the business to function. No one has a lot of glory of, sweet, I packaged Adobe Reader, right? So in that case, to make it easier and less burdensome in my administrator or engineer life, I can send a robot to package it for me. We talked about the other benefits of packaging automation, which is the consistency bits and pieces in our world. And basically, when we integrate that and have that all the way across every version of Google Chrome that pops up, here's my installation switches that make it silent. Here are my features that I request, and on and on and on and on I go, right? So packaging automation, as we talked about, it does come with the product. It's a feature. It's part of the license. And there's two pieces of it. We have a control plane node for packaging automation. Traditionally, it is a profile Unity server. It's just an additional service that gets installed on this server. And this will actually provide the instructions. So I'm going to write a couple of files that have the instructions in there. But also at the same time, I have an agent or a drone node. This node is registered with my control plane node and accepts the instructions from the control plane node for the packaging. So here, if we look at my directory out here, I have two files. I have defaults.json, and defaults.json are just basically encrypted credentials. We don't like to store anything in plain text, otherwise security gets on our case, right? So here are my credentials to access the control plane node from that agent with the username and password that I dictated. It all got hashed through. This is my credentials to access the network share once the package was packaged for me through the automation process. Here is my credentials to automatically import it into Profile Unity so that it can become deployable. And here are my installer credentials on the agent machine that basically it's an account that has administrator rights that can invoke installs on that one without being denied, access denied, all that fun stuff that pop up in our world. So when you run through the instructions of how to set up packaging automation, you'll end up with a defaults JSON. Then the second file we care about is the packages files JSON. Here's where I actually put the application guts and what I want in here. I'm going to rinse and repeat, and I can have this be 100 applications long or 1,000 applications long. And if I'm packaging 100 or 1,000 applications, I probably want more than one agent. Otherwise, everything kind of waits in line. If I have 4 agents on here, we kind of spread the load across where we have 4 simultaneous packages going on in our world. But let's talk about the critical functions here. Like, we usually talk JSONs. JSONs is usually, it's an abnormal format for Windows folks. They don't really understand what potentially happens in a JSON file. So they get a little bit freaked out. But if we look at this one, we just fill out 4 lines. And when we hit save, the rest of the lines will be generated for us. So we need to give the package an administrative name. We need to give it size on disk. Understand our fixed is null by default, which means we are thin provisioned. Here's my path to installer. And being in JSON format, we just have to double the amount of backslashes that would have normally occurred here. So it's whack whack for the various directory traversing. And then we have our install arguments. So silent, and then all users, and then any of the feature type of flags or those types of things you would set there would be there as well. Then once you hit save, the rest of these get filled out as null. And then you can actually copy this entire section and put it below, and there'll be 2 applications, 3 applications, 100 applications that show up in this file. So once I'm ready to execute, I actually have a status checker, and my status checker will tell me if my agent node is available. It pulled an IP address and the version that it's running, if it's not busy or any of those types of things like that. Basically, it's just priming it so I'm ready to hit the go button, right? So then all I really need to do is execute this PowerShell. This PowerShell will take these previous 2 files and make it go, right? So you'll see this is one total application. One of them is running. It's called WinSCP. It started at this time on this node. And if you give it about a minute or so, it will pop up at the end as, 0 pending, 0 running, 1 successful. And if there are any errors that pop up in the world, like, sometimes application manufacturers have strange switches. Instead of the lowercase s, they want a capital S. Any of those bits and pieces there, you'll actually see that the application install hung because of those various things, because it couldn't go through the automated process of installing. So if I come back out here to my D drive, and let's pop over to the share where we land. I have a FlexApp packaging automation app share, and you'll actually see we are capturing that WinSCP guy out here. And if you give it a little bit, it'll show 1 successful, and then this dialog will go away. And then once this dialog goes away, I'm off and I'm ready to test that application and make it happen in my world, right? At the same time, if we go in the background here, part of that defaults JSON, I provided it credentials. So it did automatically import these. So just as before, I open up my config, I assign the package in there, and I'm good to go. Automation is very easy for you to, on a Friday afternoon, click the go button, then you duck out for the weekend, and you come back in the morning, you have hundreds or thousands of applications installed and packaged, ready for you to test. The last bit and piece here, let's talk about FlexApp 1. So FlexApp 1 has a few interesting things that pop up. The main one is that you actually need to be a FlexApp before you can be a FlexApp 1. So if you just purely download our FlexApp 1 software off of our documents website where we have everything, it downloads a zip file that will contain the FlexApp packaging console, as well as the various pieces that make FlexApp 1 go. If you read along the documentation, it basically says you must package everything as a FlexApp first, and then you can bundle it over to a FlexApp 1. Coming in the future version, and which should be popping up here by end of the year, is our 6.8.5 version of Profile Unity in FlexApp. During the FlexApp packaging piece in the FlexApp packaging console, there will be a checkbox that will allow you to automatically generate a FlexApp 1 package as well. So you don't have to worry about going backwards and running an additional step. If you have a use case where the application 100% every single time needs to pop up as a FlexApp 1, that is a process that will streamline that. So from here, if I come out to my share location, give me 2 seconds here, I have a FlexApp 1 directory, and I have sample commands in here. So the first command, this is our traditional easy bundle, right? This one, it will honor my license. My license will get kind of baked into the package, and I will just continue to run it as long as my license is valid. The very last one, we talk about advanced bundling, right? If I have contractors or offshore workers and I onboarded them and I allowed them to do some things like BYOD and whatnots in their world, and then, I push software to them because they needed the software to function as long as they're engaged with my company. I have the task when the contract runs out on how to rake back and claw back that software. With FlexApp 1, with the time bomb functionality on this advanced bundle, I can time bomb the package so that once they exceed a specific date range, it will just stop working. I don't have to worry about clawing it back. They will just have an executable for called whatever.exe. And every single time they try to launch it, they get time bombed that says, no, go away, contact the administrator, have them give you a new package because this one's expired, right? So bundling and packaging is very easy. There's the easy one, and then there's also the advanced one that allows you to set the date range and the time range on there. It makes it just easier for you to, handle your contractor fleet in the world. So for this example here, we'll actually bundle and package 7-zip, right? So all I need to do is open up a PowerShell and come out to my FlexApp packaging, or not, my FlexApp 1 directory, and then just issue this command. So you'll see the bundle process completed successfully. And now if I browse to that location, I'll have an executable on top of just normally having our traditional 3 files. So for this example, I'll actually copy this to a different share because I do have a few other FlexApp 1 applications that we'll demo here. And I'm actually going to overwrite a previous one that I had. It has today's timestamp, so we know it's new. And then from here, I have a Windows 10 box here as well. This Windows 10 box is on the domain. It does not process Profile Unity. It does not process traditional FlexApp. You'll see I log in. I saw no splash screens. I saw no nothing. So I'm going to delete the old icons I had out here because I was previously running a demo, and that's fair. And I'm going to transfer them over again with the new timestamps from my server. So this, for all intents and purposes, simulates if someone were to sneaker net you these flash drives, right? I rolled a flash drive over to you and you copied them off onto your laptop, desktop, and you're good to go, right? So from here, if I pull up my disk management, you'll see that I'm very, very, very blank and very, very, very vanilla. I have a lot of nothing on this machine. Yeah, I'll even pull up programs and features to show that. I have some, I have Microsoft Edge and OneDrive and some C++ and .NET frameworks, and that's all I got in this world, right? So I'm the user now, and I'm ready to, do some stuff in 7-zip, or also at the same time run Foxit PDF Reader. And you'll see that these applications will pop up and you're running them. So I can click through these various bits and pieces and I'm all good. You'll see that we also create a notification area icon. Sometimes applications are naughty in our world and we have to give you a means on how to force kill them. So that's what this tray icons are. But my applications are running now. So if I come out to my C drive location and I go out to Foxit software, everything that is Foxit PDF Reader is Foxit PDF Reader out here. It's all good. It's basically 100% native, right? So then, 5 o'clock rolls around and I'm ready to jump on a train because I need to roll home and cook dinner for the family. It becomes a scenario where I'm disconnected from the network now. I'm disconnected from the network and I jumped on the train and I still need to come back and resume my session. I'm still here. I'm still running the application. I can open PDFs. I can do all kinds of fun stuff that I need to do within these applications, and they function without any connection back to data center or back to internet or any of those various bits and pieces there, right? So this is the core of FlexApp 1. If I come out to my disk management now and I see these 2 applications mounted with the VHDXs into the operating system. And, just as earlier, to prove the point of we keep things clean and pristine, if I come out here and I do a stop of my service, it's the same container service that runs in traditional FlexApp. You'll see those applications crash and disappear. And also at the same time, you'll see this menu where I try to click and it says this path is no longer valid because it isn't. We did a hard pull of all of those VHDXs out of the operating system. So once again, we revert back to clean and pristine. So, that's FlexApp 1. Pick and choose your own means of distribution. If you want to sync it with a OneDrive or a Google Drive, or you want to enroll things in Microsoft Endpoint Manager and utilize the Intune functionality, or also at the same time, enroll yourself into Workspace ONE and use the old AirWatch functionality. It's all good. Just pick and choose your means of distribution to basically extend this functionality of what you have in FlexApp onto an offline use case.
Hey, Johnny, real quick, we had a question. As far as the applications, whether it's FlexApp 1 or traditional FlexApp, do they
Yes.
show up? You brought up the control, the programs and features,
Yeah.
dialogue. Do those applications show up and look and feel like they're installed? You showed the
Yeah,
you know,
most
the file
definitely.
path.
So let's pop back over here, and
Okay.
actually, I may want to come back to this one because I stopped that service and I need to log out and log back in. But let me stop this application again in the tray icon. I started my service again, and let's rerun. Right. So 7-zip is loaded into my operating system and is currently running. So if I pull up my context here, I will see the application's 100% look and feel of its native, right? So it shows up right here as it intends to. A lot of the times we do show up with the FlexApp notation here. Some applications don't for other reasons, but yes, it is 100% native here. It's not compartmentalized in a bubble, and we have to poke all kinds of holes through it. It's just 100%. If it needs to make a call to any other application, as long as there's an understanding of the call, meaning the application can make that native call, it's all good. There's no extracurricular additional things you have to do to it and make it function with the rest of your applications.
And that goes for context menus too, right?
Yes, most definitely. So if I were to right click this guy, I have a 7-zip menu now.
Right.
Meaning I can press my browser shortcut for fun.
Very good.
All right.
I had another quick question. How do you handle updates? So you've got an application.
Yeah, most definitely. So let me reshare again. So the update process is just as simple as the package process, right? So I have an update to Google Chrome, or I have an update to Adobe Reader, or I have any of those. I can do two ways and two means of actually updating the package. If I'm doing an offline package, which we talked about here, we're actually doing an offline package. This machine is off the domain and it doesn't necessarily understand being on the domain unless I provide credentials for it. I can just transfer this package to this machine, import it into my configuration. So let's just do that real quick. I'm going to copy putty back over here because earlier we didn't touch putty. And then I can import it into my config here, right? Browse out to my package. Could click on that XML file and hit import, right? This will be imported and it'll be in the local inventory. So then, just as earlier and as easy, I can extend the package and install the new update to putty, and I can save it out there and we're golden again, right? That's how we handle updates. So then on the next, when you make the assignment change in the config, on the next log off and log back in, you'll pick up the new package and you're done. Right? It's just as easy as normal application maintenance. It's just you may have to copy a file a little bit, but yeah. So if I click on extend here, it'll enter re-record mode and then it'll allow me to absorb those updates.
And also, can you show the editor as well? I think that's pretty unique with you guys. I know you mentioned it earlier, but
yeah. So the main thing with the package editor, it provides you an easy means to be able to change specific things in the package without needing to repackage. Let's just say, for instance, I didn't want shortcuts in the start menu because I like to treat my users potentially poorly. I can come in here and I can trim all those shortcuts out without needing to repackage the thing and then go to the start menu and trim those shortcuts out, right? Some people like their desktop shortcuts to be clean, right? Putty, for instance, didn't create one, but if it had one, it would show up here. So they would come out here and you just nuke that shortcut and then they would still have their start menu shortcut, but nothing on the desktop.
and I find this very interesting, and I had a lot of experience with Citrix app layering, and anytime you had to make a change such as this, right, you had to essentially create a new version, you had to wait, you had to make a change, then you had to finalize, and so it's pretty time consuming just doing something as simple as deleting a shortcut. So having this this editor definitely is
yeah.
Definitely
Even on the fastest storage with Citrix app layering, it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to pop out a VM, so you can go in there and delete one spell shortcut.
Right.
Yeah. So
exactly.
Yeah. All right. If anything else, I will give you back the sharing power. Thank you.
Very good. And guys, appreciate the questions. Feel free to keep throwing those in as we go through this. this is great. Like I said, we definitely wanted to make this kind of interactive and address any questions along the way. So with that, let me bring my screen back up. I appreciate that demo. Do want to mention, if you guys are interested in actually seeing this, work in your environment, definitely reach out to your XenTegra client executive. We can work to get a POC, FlexApp and Profile Unity if you want to see Profile Unity. The prerequisites are pretty simple. Like I said, we can walk through, work with you guys on this. We can send this out if you guys are interested. And again, walk through and just get a little more familiar with that process. You saw how easy it was for Johnny to go in and create a couple of packages, deploy those out to some users. Very easy to get this installed and configured from a POC perspective. So if this is something you guys are interested in, definitely let us know. We'd be glad to help you guys with that. Other thing we kind of want to talk about very quickly is the roadmap. So, Johnny kind of mentioned a few things, right? Profile Unity and FlexApp version 6.8.5. Planned availability is in Q4 this year, most likely December. But there's a lot of new feature functionality coming in, right? The ability to convert app Vs into FlexApp. So we got application cloning, which Johnny, keep me honest here. So essentially, the ability to
It's cloaking, not cloning. So
cloaking. Yeah, I said cloning. Sorry,
let's
cloaking.
clear what cloaking is. I can handle that one.
So being able to hide apps, right, based upon user groups. Similar to the app masking from FS Logics, right? You guys have that sort of capability.
Yes, it is a file system cloak. So basically I can say hide notepad.exe unless you really, really, really need notepad.exe. It's nothing just relegated to anything hiding in terms of what FlexApp delivers. We can hide native application sets as well. So this goes very far for, your licensed products, right? This could be Microsoft Project. This could be Visio. This could be Acrobat. This could be all kinds of bevy and use cases to be good for this, right?
Very good. And then also, there's, like I said, there's several different things in here. You guys have an API that's coming out, ability to convert MSIXs into Flex apps. I don't know if anyone's attempted to utilize MSIX. I know Microsoft's kind of touting that as the future, but we kind of see that from an application compatibility standpoint, it's not there. It's not to the level of something like FlexApp. So the ability to take those and convert those into Flex apps, that's pretty big. Some of the triggers, right? Having the ability to now, you mentioned being able to layer at boot and at log on, but now having post log on support, right? Additional ways to layer, right? Whether that be post login, whether it's a specific trigger, I think that's pretty interesting. As well as the ability now to take and merge layers, right? So having that sort of capability, as well as version control. I know that's been something in the past. Now having a new field where we can put the versioning in versus having to change the name of the package as well as the auto OS optimization. Again, today going in, optimizing that packaging VM, as well as having the OS rollback, right? Being able to leverage the volume shadow copy. So when you're going through that process of creating, again, wanting to have that pristine image, having the capability to have the built-in OS rollback so that we ensure that packaging VM remains pristine is pretty important. So anything else here, Johnny, you guys want to speak to?
Yeah, the main ones is it's a single pane of glass to help you with any applications like MSIXs, Amazon App Streams, App V packages, FlexApp 1, ThinApp, whatever it is. If you already have significant investments into any of those other guys, we don't expect you to be able to flip the switch overnight and say everything is a FlexApp, right? We can actually just be the single pane of glass and start delivering applications that are those and giving them through that single pane of glass through our clients.
Very good. We did have a question come in. So the question was, can you guys handle apps or layer apps that need to be auto launched on user logon, something like Teams, for example?
Yes, most definitely can capture Teams. You just take the Teams machine-wide installer and it gets handled as it normally gets handled. Because that auto launch piece, it basically just generates that squirrel registry key that lands in HKey current user. Same exact behavior.
Very good. And another question, and this is more around the presentation itself. Will this recording be available to the attendees? Yes, after this, we will send out the recording, and we will also we'll typically upload these to our YouTube channel. So XenTegra has a YouTube channel. You can always go back and reference, as well as any of our other workshops and so forth. So definitely go check that out. There's a wealth of knowledge there as well. So that's a good question. Any other questions or comments relating to Liquidware FlexApp?
Yeah, Randy and Johnny, while you guys were presenting, there was a statement saying that they were getting ready to roll out VDI. Is that something XenTegra and Liquidware can help enable them for success there?
Oh yes, definitely. Right. So a couple of things. Tom, did you already answer that question, or okay?
I threw in a quick answer, but then maybe you guys can expand on that.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a couple of things, right? Definitely from a deployment standpoint, or just from a planning, designing, or implementations, XenTegra can help in all the phases, right? So we can help you wherever you guys are along that path. If you guys are new to VDI, we can definitely work with you guys, help you guys to ensure you guys are successful. Partnering with Liquidware, right? There's a lot that they can do. We talked a lot about FlexApp and how we can deliver applications. That's one piece of the puzzle. Understanding, again, are you sized correctly, right? Because a lot of times customers will look to determine, hey, I want to move to VDI. I've got physical desktops today. How does that translate to a virtual desktop? So, Johnny talked about Stratosphere at the very beginning. Utilizing Stratosphere, they have what they call a fit module that allows you to essentially get a better understanding, right, of what sort of VDI profile sizes from a sizing perspective do I need? Will this work correctly? Is this user suitable for VDI, right? Do I need 3D graphics, right? Do I need to start including NVIDIA cards as well for these users? We can get all that sort of data, not to mention just the applications that are in use, right? So if your user base is currently using physical desktops and you're considering deploying VDI, utilizing Stratosphere, we can actually see, I've got 100 Visio licenses, but I've only got really 5 users that are using it, right? I know that's pretty extreme, but in that sort of use case, we can really potentially even reduce the license usage, right? And being able to identify that with something like Stratosphere. So the ability to use Stratosphere to generate a lot of metrics around what applications are in use, who are using those applications, what's the resource consumption, right? As well as what size VM do I need, or virtual desktop do I need to provide these users so they function correctly? That's what Stratosphere can provide. And we spoke earlier about assessments and so forth. We can definitely work with you guys to do an assessment, start that planning phase, if you will, for these sort of engagements.
It is exceptionally critical to build things correctly for your users, because
Right.
the understanding is the user may give you 2 chances before they say, I can't use it because it behaved poorly, right? First time, if you undersized it, things could be slow, things could be whatever. They'll be like, okay, I'll give it another shot. But if it's bad the second time, because you're literally trying to fit that square peg in the round hole, meaning that, oh, we size all of our virtual desktops exactly the same without necessarily understanding the use case, because that is our cookie cutter profile of 2 cores and 8 gigs of RAM. Sometimes users open a lot of Chrome tabs. Sometimes users open 10 applications simultaneously. That's their native workflow. So you can't really nerf them and try to fit them into that square hole kind of conversation. So as long as you run a Stratosphere in there and have a full analysis, while 9 out of the 10 users, maybe 2 cores and 8 gigs of RAM, that one user maybe 4 cores and 12 gigs of RAM, right? All that fun stuff pops up in the world.
Exactly. It's not always a one size fit all, right? It really depends upon the use case, and that's what Stratosphere helps to uncover. What is the actual requirements that are needed there? And from a XenTegra standpoint, definitely reach out to your client executive. We can definitely help you along this journey. Liquidware has got the various solutions we've discussed today. They can take that deployment from good to great. And again, it's all about the planning and ensuring that we're sizing the environment correctly and we're planning because we do want it to be successful. Otherwise, it's hard from an adoption standpoint moving forward. So, did have another question come in. Kevin had asked, are very large, given a number of 75 meg applications that have a number of sub installs and folders able to be packaged?
Yes.
Or is it best practice not to layer a package large size footprint apps with FlexApp?
Just the other day, I packaged Revit for somebody. That package showed up at the end as 21 gig. So large form factor packages are non-concerns for us. Sub installs and multi-step installs, those are perfectly fine. They can be invoked automatically through that executable, and it just understands that you need to install these prerequisites and it rolls through. Also, packages that require reboots can be handled by us as well. You ignore the application reboot because the application dialog says, please restart to continue. You ignore that one, say restart later. Kick the restart off in the FlexApp packaging console. And the reason why we do it in that order, in that manner, is that we want the package console to start back up automatically after it reboots that machine. So yes.
Very good, very good. I know Chris always liked to mention too, you gave an example of Epic, right? I think it was like 200,000 or something registry entries. I mean, it's just being able to support large applications is not an issue. So
Yeah, and on the flip side to that, if you wanted to package like say an Outlook add-on that only the finance people use, you don't have to combine that. You can play your Microsoft Office and then only install the add-ons and be able to filter that out based upon whatever context filter aware. So we can go both ways with that.
that's a pretty good point. Appreciate it, Tom. Any other questions? This is great. Do want to mention then while we're sitting here, feel free to throw another question in. I do want to mention real quick, we do have a couple of other events. I've talked about the fact that, XenTegra is all about enablement. We have a Nutanix workshop coming up this week. A couple of other webinars coming up this month. We got Haiku and Logic Monitor. Definitely go check those out as well. Don't see any other questions. Definitely appreciate your time. Again, I'm going to throw this back up just for reference. Definitely go out and register. It's what's the saying? You got to be in it to win it. So, with that, appreciate you guys joining. Go register for this. You could be the lucky new owner of a Ford Bronco. So, with that, again, I appreciate the time this morning. Johnny, Tom, appreciate you guys joining as always. You guys did a great job. Anyone that attended, if you guys want any additional information, definitely reach back out to us. We'll be in contact as well from your XenTegra client executive. If you're more interested in seeing a more customized demo, a POC, learn more about how we can help you along that VDI path, or interested in our micro assessments, definitely reach out and we'll be in touch as well. But appreciate the time today, guys.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, guys.
Talk to you later.